this is a very, very, very special seminar, I feel. Um, I've been dying to do this, listing agent versus buyer's agent event for such a long time. And I just didn't, I didn't have the, I want to say like I had tried to do this for a while. I had actually scheduled to do this like back in April, and then the pandemic hit. And obviously I had to kind of like stop and cancel the event. It was going to be live, it was going to be somewhere at a location. But I think that this is amazing. Through this, I got to meet Leopoldo Ortega, who's my co-host today. This year I met Guillermo Viola, and I think that I have the right guest speakers for today's event. So, Guillermo, Leo, if you guys can turn on your cameras and, unmute yourselves. I want to say hi.
Good morning, everybody. How are you?
Morning, everybody.
How you doing, Marina?
I am doing amazing. It's so great to see you guys again. And we played with this yesterday between all three of us, right? Because, when I bring the concept of like a listing agent versus buyer's agent, I had people were like, well, are people gonna like knock each other out? And in my mind, I thought, well, that's pretty much how they behave, through the entire time that they're trying to pull a transaction together, without realizing that they're actually a team through this, right? Like they shouldn't be upset at each other, but they're looking at each other like on such defense, and if like one's the enemy, and without realizing that the common goal for everyone involved is it's actually the same, is to get this transaction to close, everybody to be happy, for the clients on both sides to be happy. And and I don't know why there's so much animosity in between. So I sat down with Leo yesterday, and I said to him, from the very, very first moment that we're entering a listing on the MLS is where I see that the problem begins. Because
100%.
when I start working with a buyer's agent and they're telling me, how do I search? How do I search for this property? How can I look this up? I know that this listing is active, but I cannot find it. The first thing I say is, well, how do you think that the listing agent filled out that listing? And based on how they would have filled it out is how you're going to be able to find it, which is, it should be backwards, right? I feel like if the listing agent starts thinking, how would a buyer's agent look for this property, is how they're going to find it. So we're kind of like working backwards in our industry. And instead of like helping each other, I think we're just so, they should be able to find my listing. It's been there and I posted it, and, I got the client. And if they want, to control the listing, then they need to become listing agents. Like we're so twisted, and the common goal is just to sell the listing and to make a buyer happy, right? So this is a panel view seminar. If you guys have any question for either one of these two gentlemen, or even for me, please do write it on the chat. Leo's already like, be ready to take sides. Like he is ready to rumble on this thing, right? So if you are pro Leo, please let us know at the end of the seminar. And if you're pro Guillermo, let's write it at the end and speak it out at the end. And maybe Leo will become pro Guillermo at the end of this, and Guillermo might be pro Leo, and understand each other so that we can work together on a transaction soon, right?
Definitely.
Hopefully.
Right. So biggest mistakes that I see that occur with a listing agent straight from the MLS. You guys have a white versus yellow, right? Like you guys sit there on the MLS and you're like, the white does not exist. I'm not gonna fill that out. I need to get this activated now. Who cares if it has a den? Who cares if it has that view? Let me just go ahead and run and activate this listing, and I'm only gonna fill in the white, the yellow, right? What's your train of thought, Leo, when you're filling out this listing? You're inputting a listing on the MLS. Do you just go straight for the yellow?
I've been in I've been both. I mean, it's been a while. I've been a realtor for quite some time, and I clearly remember two instances that come to mind. My first company where I worked, we didn't do it. The broker had somebody who was in charge of down and filling the information.
I do
Because
want to stop you there
Yep.
because I have been in both type of companies, right? I've been in the company where we have an admin inputting everything for that listing on the MLS. So you do have that, second set of eyes, second set of information, or, maybe that person that's going to help you with that, grammar or spelling. And then I have, that other experience where the agents are free for all and hardly ever ask the office like, hey, did I do this right, or should I fill out more, right? And so I've been in in situations just like yours.
Yeah, and in both cases, I've seen everything go wrong. Because when you mentioned about us being in a hurry, well, imagine an admin that has to download and up on the MLS
5, 10
5
listings a day.
listings one day. They're going for that yellow big time. Their fingers only go yellow.
Yes.
And yesterday you were saying that a lot of times when we fill it, even when we fill it, we're the directly interested party. If we're in a hurry, we're going to do the yellow. And I have fallen for that many years ago. I've slowly but surely understood that the importance of all the information. So as much information as we have, then we need to go ahead and input it. But I think it all starts in our conversation with our client.
With your client. Because I will say this, because you mentioned about the admin being in a hurry because she has other listings to input, right? But then you also have to understand that that admin has never seen this property. This admin has no idea what type of towels it has. It has no idea, the upgrades it has. It has no idea if it has shutters or if it has impact windows. So even when the admins were filling out your listings, you still had to give her a sheet.
Yeah.
Say, hey, this is my listing, and input it. And if you didn't fill this out.
Yeah, we used to fill out what is a QR form or something?
Yes.
It was like check marks. Beautiful. Beautiful. Very good. Very nice. That was horrible. And exactly, if the admin hasn't been there, doesn't have a feeling for it, that's like, what happens now twice, 3 times was as bad.
Now, you mentioned something that was so particular that stood out to me yesterday, that you said that when you're inputting a listing on the MLS, you go into it with your eyes, with what you feel, what you like about the property, what you feel is going to sell the property. And then that's pretty much how you fill it out, right? Yep. Without thinking of, Guillermo's going to have a client that is looking for a certain criteria that is going to be the sale, but you thought it was something else and you didn't fill that out. And then Guillermo missed that listing and never even saw it.
Well, not as much as I didn't fill it out, but I would focus the way I would present the listing, even the photos would be based on what I think sells. And when you do that, you tend to miss what other people buy it for. Yes. For example, I have a listing that recently sold, and it showed a ton of times, but the condition wasn't the best because I had the same tenant, which was a lot of people there for 5 years. So cabinets and stuff are down to their last condition. And I was very concerned about that and pushing the views and pushing the location and, and everything. And surprisingly enough, the person who's buying it, even though they did the inspection and found the condition of everything was something that needed to be remodeled, on the inspection, all they talked about was the roof and the leaks. Everything else, you can tell that they're going to remodel. So they don't care the condition of the cabinets in the bathroom and the kitchen. And they like the location, but they're going to remodel them. And I was very, very focused on taking the pictures that didn't show those things and that, far away from the cabinets so you couldn't tell. And I understand now, that proved what you just said, that a lot of times we're preconceiving what is the value of this, and we have to go a little step further. Sometimes it has nothing to do with that.
Yeah, like you're conditioning that apartment or that property based on your needs or your wants if you were the one that was going to go after.
Yes, and my remarks and my photos are going to show that.
Yeah.
And that's not right. I mean, that's a mistake. You have to be a little bit more broad and make sure that everything about that apartment is there, it's available, and it's, you know,
Because you can't be biased.
accessible to the.
You're not the one buying this property. So you can't be biased on the things that you love.
Near are my sellers, and
Exactly.
they want their input too.
Exactly. Exactly. What is your biggest complaint once you have, you know, uploaded the listing on the MLS, right? What is your biggest complaint
Just
about
one?
buyer's agents? Give me three. Give me three.
First, why don't you read? I mean,
Guillermo,
come
why
on.
don't you read? Do you not know how to read?
I have gone as far as
I got
putting.
glasses.
I know. I have gone to the point of putting capital letters in the front of the before any remark, and in the input of the broker. Tenant occupied, like yay big.
Yes.
And I still get calls. Is the property vacant? And I'm like, I want to go like, are you vacant? But you know, that's one. Number one complaint as a listing is they don't read.
Guillermo, I have a question for you. Why are you not reading?
I think that in that case, it's the same with what you were saying before. You're in a hurry, I think. You're trying to get maybe as much as showings as you can because your clients want to see, you know, the property now, or they're in a hurry, so you hurry, which is a mistake.
Yes.
Because you take the time and you read it, then you don't run into an issue afterwards.
Yes.
But again, I think the whole business, either or listing or buyer, you're in a hurry. And
but I have a question when it comes to that, right? I have at the moment that you are looking for that one property, you are looking up that property for one client, right? Like it's not like you have 10 clients that you're doing the search for and you're in such a hurry because you have to, you know, make all these 10 clients happy, right? So
10 listings and 10 guys, yeah.
I have a question. Why are you in a hurry?
It's I don't know. I mean, I think it's just the nature of the business. You're going full throttle all the time, but you need to slow down. You need to, you know, do what you need to do to get it right, because then you run into issues like this. I mean, I've had it. What Leo is saying is true. I've asked that. It's like when you call somebody like at 2 a.m. and, you know, they pick up the phone and they're like half asleep and you go, were you sleeping? Duh. I mean, what? No, I was asleep. So it's like the same thing. You know, you write tenant occupied and they ask you, is the property vacant? It's like, dude, look at the listing.
But then that also comes with listing agents, because how many times because I do this all the time, right? Like, I teach the agents, I teach the listing agents at the bottom where it says, is property occupied? I tell them, call listing agent, right? So yeah. I am also at fault for teaching that. Like, hey, call listing agent. And the reason for that is because you don't want a tenant to be bothered. You don't want a homeowner to be bothered. You don't want to let the public know that maybe this property is vacant and then you have an issue with squatters, right? So just call the listing agent. And then you have Guillermo, who's not reading, who's in a hurry with this one client because he doesn't have 10. And, you know, the end result is the same.
Yep. My second is, well, obviously, you know, just like it happens with occupied.
He has more complaints. He has more complaints.
I'll get my turn.
Furnished. Come on, it's furnished. It says it right there, capital letters, furnished. And you walk in, wow, this is beautiful, but he doesn't really need the furniture. It's like the owner does. I mean, I'm renting with furniture for a reason. I do not have, you know, storage in next to my home where I can put a complete apartment inside. But I think the second real issue that I find with unexperienced realtors, they don't take the time to understand what their client wants. So they start showing properties and they get to my property and the guy goes like, oh, but this doesn't have a garage. No, it doesn't say garage on the listing. Although it may. I know Guillermo's going to say that. It doesn't say garage. I mean, or oh, they can't do, you know, she's an elderly person and she can't go upstairs. So why are you showing two-story townhomes? Because I find realtors that show listings just to show listings, to show their buyer
I don't
that, wow, look at everything I have for you. It doesn't work that
I
way.
will stop you there. I don't think that agents are showing listings just to show a listing. I believe that, and I'm sorry for anybody watching this for what I'm going to say. I believe that, one, you did say they're not reading, right? We do have a lot of part-time agents in our industry who might not even know how to read the MLS, right? Because they're not looking at the certain details of the garage, the carport, you know, the certain vocabulary, the townhouses versus villa, you know, apartment condo versus a townhouse. Maybe they're not separating the criteria straight from when they're about to do the search. So I don't think that it is just to show, because I don't think anybody wants to waste their time showing 64 properties. But I believe that there's a lot of part-time agents who don't know. And then you have a lot of clients that they don't, like, the agents are not meeting with their clients beforehand and pre-qualifying them. And then they find out that the client cannot do a 2-story townhouse when they literally park in front of that townhouse, that the client's like, oh, but wait, is this 2 stories? I cannot do 2 stories. And that agent just found out, and it's not gonna waste your time, so shows the property anyway. And it's a waste of time for both of you.
That was my third.
Yeah.
And it's just showing,
qualifying your clients.
Qualify your clients and understand what they really want. You know, plus, I mean, it wastes the time of the listing agent, but it also hurts you with your client, because I've had clients that come to me after they work with another realtor, and their comment is, I went to see 10 homes and 8 of them didn't qualify. 8 of them have nothing to do with what I asked for. Yes, they were all three 2s under 500,000, but you know, I told them I don't want anything, you know, older than 1990, and I told them I don't want, you know, I want high ceilings, and I told them, and they start showing flat ceiling apartments, 1952, and there they go showing 10 units, and obviously the client's gonna say, I need a real realtor, or they go to Zillow, which is worse.
I think that the agents are so, most agents here, that unless the client is pre-approved, you know, we don't show, right? But no one has sat down and said, well, besides being a pre-approved, you need to pre-qualify them. What is the main criteria? What is it that your client is looking for in a property? Because that pre-approval letter means absolutely nothing other than how much they might be able to afford, right? But it's not letting you know, they want a balcony, they want a backyard. Maybe it's very important to have a bedroom downstairs with a full bathroom instead of, all the bedrooms upstairs. You're not pre-qualifying them, and therefore you have absolutely no idea what to look for on the MLS. And then on top of that, you might not even know how to read the MLS. So now you're calling the listing agent who's over every buyer's agent calling them, and now they don't pick up the phone.
Yep.
So that is my biggest complaint. The
There, Guillermo, here he comes.
Go ahead, Guillermo. What is your biggest complaint with Leo?
No,
and they're laughing today, but they don't really like each other.
No, I think from a buyer's agent standpoint of view, I think our main problem is that not an answering to a call, or not even a message. I mean, I understand maybe you can't pick up the phone, but a simple text saying, hey, let me call you right back, or
But why are you calling him?
Well, because I need to talk to him about the property that he has listed.
But it's all in writing. He wrote it down for you.
No, yeah, but
did I?
Again, there's things that are not on there.
Because he only filled out the yellow, right? That's why you're calling him.
Not only that, I think my second, I would probably have like 2 strong ones. Obviously, we can go on for a while about this.
You did.
But the second one would be, not knowing the community, like if it
Mm.
has reserves, if it's FHA approved.
And this is like a real complaint that Guillermo had
He
for
had to go for the throat.
Yeah.
Leo, I'm short, so I probably hit you with a low blow. So I get points deducted for that.
Yeah.
So yeah, those
I agree.
I know you would. Those I think are my biggest two because I ran into them. I've been on both sides. I do listings and I do buyer's agent, so I know what Leo's talking about. It is true with as far as buyer's agents, and I think Andrina, it's partly what you said, or I don't know if it's mostly. There's a lot of part-timers, and that that has an effect because maybe they're not doing it full time, so they can't pick up the phone because they're either on another job or whatever it is that they're doing. So it's hard, and we get that.
And because they're part-time, they might have not filled out that listing in a way that the buyer's agent also needs.
Right. Correct. So like I said, you pick up the phone, simple text will probably do, but you don't even get that. So you don't even get a call back later. I mean, like, let's say, you can't call at that time, 2 or 3 hours later.
I do wanna get to you, Guillermo, right? Because I've been working with you on a few, on a few things, right? And every time I say, hey, just email it to them, like, let's get it over with, Guillermo stops and says, no, let's call them and, let's start a communication first, because if you just email it to them, it's going to be so aggressive because they don't know who you are or what the intention is, and they don't know in what tone of voice you're just emailing this for, right? And then you have the listing agent saying, but why are they calling me?
Yep.
Yeah,
it's kind of crazy that way. Yes.
Yeah, I had a situation yesterday like that.
And then the listing agent will say, like, oh, it's so good, like they also want that phone call, like, why didn't you call me first? Well, you haven't picked up the first 60 phone calls that I made for you while we were trying to get this deal together.
Yep.
And now that we're under contract, now you want a phone call.
No, and even after you're under contract, like I am right now with a property, I got title search back, and the property has some code violations. So I called the listing agent to let him know that I was going to be sending him the report, and his answer was, "Well, just email it to me. Why are you calling me?" So that right there, like, we started off on the wrong foot because.
But it's on the wrong foot for Guillermo, because Guillermo's a caller who wanted to let that agent know so that they can start working on this together.
Resolving it.
I'm a firm believer of communicate. I mean, in this business, communication is key. The more communication there is, I think the better it goes.
100%. Communication is knowledge.
Not even between listing and buyer's agent.
Yes.
With the lender involved. You got to get title involved. I mean, I would create a group chat and have everybody involved. Everybody's on the same page. You can't tell me, oh no, I didn't see it. Or that's why, again, I took it maybe to the heart. It was maybe early in the morning. I'm not that much of a morning person. So I was like, I'm just giving you a heads up that I will be sending you an email. And I don't know if you know that your property has code violations.
No, exactly.
So, yeah.
But the thing, and I would add to that, the problem is also that if that client is not, if the realtor is not going to communicate with you, then you probably could, as a listing agent, when I get an agent that I can realize that he's not even talking to his client, then what are my expectations of when this goes on the contract, whether he's going to communicate with me, with the lender, and all those other things? Because at this stage, when he's already actually found something for his client, he doesn't know exactly what his client wants. My expectations of, how is this going to go? I'm already, again, on the defensive with this realtor, because I know already that all kinds of things are going to pop up, because as you get closer to closing a deal or getting, even going on the contract, that's when the buyer gets pickier.
Yes.
So if you don't have no control or no relationship with your buyer, it's just hell. And we end up having to, as a listing agent, I end up trying to sell the property to your client.
Now I have a question.
Because you don't know your client.
We went from inputting the listing all the way to now finding violations, right? how many times, especially you, Leo, how many times do buyers agents, once you've inputted that listing on the MLS, how many times does a buyer's agent call you to find out if they can do an open house in your property?
Well, open house, obviously, recently, none, but
Recently, but like through your time, and for those who don't know, I believe Leo has about 16 years of experience in the industry. So, you know, one of the reasons why I reached out to him and I said, hey, let's do the seminar together is because I did see that he had multiple listings currently on the MLS, and he did have the experience, and he's both spoken and, you know, and so forth. But do you allow agents to do open houses in your listings?
nope.
Why not?
Because, well, number
And
one,
I ask this question with the goodness of my heart because I am so
No.
pro listing agent. I do believe that no other agent sat with you at the time of that listing presentation when you spoke to your client, where your client expressed, you know, what they wanted, what they didn't want, how to open the house, how to market it, what type of pictures. And now, you know, you get bombarded, and now the other agents get mad at you because you're not allowing them to advertise. But you
advertise,
have a
yes,
relationship with your
open house,
client.
no way. That's like lending my car to somebody to drive, to go on vacation. There's no
Now,
way. I mean,
How
open
many
house,
times have you done an open house and you've, I mean, not you, this question's more for Guillermo. How many times have you entered with a client to an open house and the listing agent attempts to give every person a business card?
Yeah, it's happened.
How do you handle that as a buyer's agent?
I mean, obviously, you're not going to do a show in front of in front of everybody.
I don't want you to do a show, but I want you to make sure that people understand respect, right?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
kind of like giving a spouse, like, hey, here's my number, call me later. And the husband's right next to them, right? So it is one of those where you grab that card and
Oh,
say, you know, don't worry, if my client needs anything, I'll be sure to reach out to you.
there you go.
definitely.
That's a decent way to do
I
it.
have taken them to the side afterwards, and
There you go.
Oh, and I told them,
Well, here's the
That's me.
problem with taking them to the side, right? Here's the problem with that. What if your client loved this property? You already hate the client. I mean, you already hate the agent because that agent jumped over you and gave your client a business card. So the entire transaction is going to taste like vinegar.
oh no, obviously, but it's not taking them in a bad way. Just explain to them, have some, professional courtesy. I think that's what you need to do. I mean, it's not trying to be with them. It's like, listen, if you need anything, like you said, if you need anything, if my client needs anything, I'll be sure to let you know, or just contact me, and we can handle it together. It's not a matter of, hey, don't ever do that, because I mean, it's just
Yeah.
you said, like you
Take you
said,
outside.
if the client really likes that property, wants to go for that property, then you run into he might not, even look at your deal because you have already started on the wrong foot. So
Yeah.
it's again, and going back a little bit to like Leo on his side has to know everything about the property. I think we as buyers agents, like you guys said, we really need to ask the right questions to our clients. Not only to not waste their time, not waste our time either, like, and the listing agent's time, because like you said, if the lady's old and she's not going to be going up, going to be able to go up the stairs, why are you showing a townhouse that has 2 stories? I mean, this is, in our business, time is money. So
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
you cannot waste it. So, talk to your buyers, find out what they really want, and don't make anybody waste time. And like you said, read the listing. I know it's, like I said, sometimes you don't
Guillermo's a caller. So for him, this must be like the hardest thing in the world.
yes.
Evelyn is asking on the chat, you should give a card to the listing agent, right?
Yes. If anything, give the card if you want to give a card out, as
Well, the
give
buyer's
it to-
agent should give it to the listing agent,
and
right?
vice versa. Yes.
It's kind of like, hey, we were here registering yourself as an agent. The client came with me.
Yeah.
And then Leo should be giving out the cards to the buyer's agent. Like, hey, this is
Yes.
me. This was my house. If you need anything, call me. Most likely the minute you guys get in the car, the client's going to say whether they really liked it or not. So you know, it would be so great to have that business card on hand so you can call the listing agent right away and say, hey, my client really liked it. We might be submitting an offer, but now you have his number, and you guys can start dancing and doing the process of that purchase, right?
Yep.
Now you guys are under contract. And I think that the hardest part of going under contract is that 7 to 10 day inspection period.
Yes.
Where, you know, buyer's agent Guillermo hates Leo because his house is going to be a mess, and now they're going to have to negotiate, and Leo hates Guillermo because he's going to find everything that's wrong with this house. And obviously, if a light bulb is wrong, Guillermo's going to ask for $5,000.
And I'm gonna have to remind Guillermo, the inspection is things that were not obvious when you were visiting the property.
And we are in an as-is contract.
As is.
Yeah. Well,
because that definitely happens a lot.
Great question where she's putting, how are they doing this with pandemic? Some people don't like to touch things. And I would love to answer this one, right? Because I've literally been, for those who don't know, I'm not a realtor. I'm not licensed. I never want to be. I feel like I am so good at my position, at my job.
Sure.
While you guys concentrate on your production, I concentrate on your production too. I don't have a production, you know, that I'm concentrating on. I actually have the time to support you guys, right? For those of you guys who don't know, I am also at this moment assisting my dad with selling of his property, right? There have been, I've never seen so many showings in my life. Maybe because I'm not a realtor, so therefore I never see any showings ever in my life. But people are going, I mean, if there's buyers out there, I think in you know, on a Saturday it's like 6 to 10 showings. On Sunday is like 10 to 12 showings. People are going into the properties. People are handing out business cards. Business as usual, Evelyn. If you are afraid to touch, don't touch anybody. People are wearing their masks. They are respectful with the masks. I have seen people even, you know, with the antibacterial as soon as they're about to leave the property, but business as usual.
I think that, I mean, well, I think everybody knows this. We have a shortage in inventory. So it's like a property goes on the market, like you said, Andrina, you got about 10 showings easily in a day. And probably by the second day, you'll probably have four or five offers already.
And what's very unusual to me, and I know that we're literally deviating, right? What's really funny to me about this market right now, my dad's property is $25,000 above, you know, like we're asking $25,000 above where it should be, and full asking offers across the table, like just flying in every day. There's new offers. It's been insanity what I've been, you know, experiencing, being with, you know, dealing with this right now.
Andrea, now that you mentioned that, I think we should also discuss what we discussed yesterday about how do listing agents price their properties.
Yes, please. Leo, how do you list your properties? How are you pricing them?
Definitely one of the main things that I do, once my client tells me, and then I discuss with my client his expectation of sale price, I ask him permission to, and the listing agreement will be above his target, always above his target, minimum 5%, sometimes a little more depending on the market. And the reason I do this is because in 17 years, probably 5% of my closings have been without negotiating. So it's not so much whether it's at asking price or not, because that varies on the market and the inventory. But negotiating the price in Miami it'll happen every time. Most of our buyers in Miami will, in their mind, if I don't negotiate, then I didn't, you know, they want to be involved in negotiation, even if they're $1,000. So
Guillermo, how much do
I
you
have a lot of listing people that listed at, you know, oh, this is my bottom price. I don't think it's a good idea.
Now, Guillermo has a buyer's agent. if you go into Leo's properties, right, into Leo's listings, and you see that they're extremely well priced, you know, they are right at value, how much do you negotiate?
Are we talking in today's market or on a regular basis? Because today it's kind of hard.
A condo, plenty of
Exactly.
inventory right now.
Oh, well, I mean, the first thing I got to do is run the comps. I mean, I have
He's well
to.
priced. He's well priced. Like he's right on the number, and you know it.
I mean, right now I'm actually doing a condo. The condo is going for 245. I advise my clients to offer 240
Perfect.
appraisal contingency.
And that's probably right on Leo's mark.
Yes,
With
that's
his
already, that is my mark. That's already
mark.
in there because my mark is going to be 5 to 10% below my asking.
Yeah. Now, Alejandra's asking me privately, how do you handle backup offers, especially if they are on a higher price? Leo, let's say this is a single family home.
There you go.
And you have 5 different offers on the table, all at, you know, at asking price. How do you handle the backup offers?
Well, before they become a backup offer, if I have the 5 and I haven't, I'm not under contract, obviously that's when you start looking at detail of the offer. And that's when communication with the buyer's agent is important because you want to make sure I'm not going to send you an email saying, send me your highest and best. I'm going to talk to the agent and hopefully they know their client, and I'll pick up the phone, call the agent. Hopefully he'll answer, and I'll start asking him, listen, you know, it's a very hot market. Where are you? I mean, because the listing agent, the buyer's agent should know if there's flexibility. So if one starts telling me, no, they're at the top, they can't spend another penny and they're not approved for more, next, until I find somebody who has some flexibility. But once I'm under contract, then it's a completely different story. Once I'm under contract, I'll flat out just tell the buyer's agent, you know, I'm under contract, we're accepting backup offers, and you will only be contacted if this listing goes, you know, if this deal goes bad. Otherwise, don't expect me to be contacted. You're telling how's it going. You can call me if you want, but you're going to be backup, and you're going to back up in order. So my backups, I respect the buyer's agent, and if there's 3 backups, they're going to be in order. I'm calling the first guy, not the best guy necessarily, but I give the first guy a chance to meet or reach, you know. Let's say I have, you know, it's a 250 and I have an offer and I'm under contract for 250, and then I have backups for 245, 250, and 240 in that order. But I'll give the 245 who sent the backup first the opportunity. I already know what I need because I know the guy behind him is offering me 250. But I'll give him the chance to come up to 250 before I call the second guy. Just out of respect, that's what it came up.
When do you answer the backup offer that you're not going to move forward? I think that it should be done after inspection period.
Yes.
Because I feel like you guys hate each other until the inspection period occurs.
Yes.
And then, you know, that buyer's agent will like the listing agent after inspection periods happen until you guys reach appraisal.
Yes, we relax.
So like, you know, you guys are happy until appraisals occur. If appraisals come back good, we're all friends and dandy. And then you guys hate each other again if there's an extension.
Oof.
Due to financing.
And to share some light on that point of inspections and all that, we as buyers agents have to know what really can be negotiated in an inspection.
Oh.
Yeah, Leo, I know you were gonna do something about that, but and it's not, you know, because you, like you said, Andre, a light bulb, you know, $5,000, it's got to be a very expensive light bulb. I don't know, like some Steve Jobs light bulb or something.
My position in this industry, I had a realtor. She's part of brokers, right? She came into my office and she's like, do you know anyone that can teach me how to read the inspection reports very well, so that then I can go and speak to my client and explain everything so that we know how to negotiate it? And I told her, you will never learn how to read that inspection report right. You're a realtor, and in Florida, we're here to put the transaction together. You have to learn what are the key things that your client needs to look for. And you're going to shut your mouth and you're not going to say anything, and you're going to let them read that report. And when they call you, all you have to say is, did you find anything that you would like to negotiate? And if we don't negotiate on this one thing that you like, are you willing to move forward? Yes or no?
Yep.
You are not here to fight that listing agent tooth and nail for that light bulb, right? Like, we're just here to say, hey, this is a report, read it over, let me know what's sent out for you. And if that thing cannot be resolved, are you willing to back away, or are you willing to move forward? That is it, right? What are the most important things to look in an inspection report? Roof, AC, and leaks.
Plumbing.
Yeah.
Leaks, plumbing, right? That's it. If those things are okay, then we can continue to move forward, right? If those things need work, either we negotiate them, we can ask for credits. But what if that listing agent is not going to give you any credits? That's where you prepare your client. Are you willing to back away or continue to move forward? If you as an agent has frustrated, has desperate, and has pissed off, as your client is, over that light bulb or over that AC unit that you guys knew, guess what, guys? That AC unit has been 14 years old. They told you at the showing. You knew that when you submitted that offer. When you get that, when you get the report, you're gonna know that that AC unit is 14 years old, right? And
you don't go back and negotiate $5,000 for it.
Guys, at the end of the day, your client is not buying an AC unit. Your client is buying a home. So how much does this client like the home that is willing to lose this property because of that AC unit? That is it. You cannot get upset. You guys cannot get, you guys are not the ones that are going to live in there. You guys are not the ones that are going to have to deal with it. You have to speak to your clients calmly, learn to control them, and just be very upfront. Are you willing to lose the property based on A, B, and C? Yes.
And here's the thing, what we need to explain to our buyers, and again, it comes back to you're buying an asset's property. Mm-hmm. If the AC is in working conditions, it is not the seller's fault that in 2 or 3 years you're gonna have to change it. That's your, he shouldn't have to pay for something that he's not gonna be living in anymore.
Yes.
Giving you the property with working conditions.
Beginning to like you, Guillermo.
I do more buyers, but I do listings. So I know what you're feeling. So, and again, I told you this yesterday, and Andrina said it when we first got started. We have a common goal.
Yes.
When we're doing a transaction, we have a common goal. You need to sell your seller's property, and I need to put my buyer into a property. Let's get it done. Why make things more complicated than they have to?
And the same conversation Andreina saying that the buyer's agent should have with his buyer, the seller's agent too. If anybody knows the AC, the AT is 14 years old, is the seller.
Yes.
So is he ready to, when he puts the price, he needs to know that is the price for a property with an AC that's working. But if the AC is about to crash or it's in terrible condition, are you ready to offer something towards the repair of the AC? I had a listing of that property that I purchased the other day, and the minute I contacted the listing agent, she immediately told me, "Listen, we know the AC does not work; it was down, and we're ready to whatever offer we come to. There is a $5,000 contribution from the seller to any buyer for that AC." Now that made the transaction so easy.
I have a question for you. In today's single family home market, where that seller does not have to give any credits for that AC, because again, he has a list of backup offers that he can choose from.
Yep.
Would you advise the seller to still give a credit?
I would not even touch the subject. I leave it to him.
That's where I was going.
Just stay away from it. You know, if it comes up, fine, we're gonna, you know, decline that offer, but I wouldn't have to prepare him for that because that I only tell I've learned not only in real estate and everything, do not give more information that is needed. Do not offer up information that when we get to that point, then we discuss it, but you need to make sure that he understands that that might come up sometimes when it's so obvious. Plus inspections, as realtors, we need to know, listing and buying agents, that inspections are not a tool to negotiate price. Inspection is basically a technical thing that needs to happen, and it's there to find issues with a property that are not readily visible during the negotiation period. They've been there, they've walked through it, they've asked questions. The obvious, it's going to come up in the inspection, but it was obvious. So don't come back to me saying, you know, oh, that door, you know, doesn't. The obvious things are not negotiable. It's an assets contract. The inspection is to the technician to find things that are not working. There's
100%.
no power in a bunch of, none of these switches have power. You know, that door doesn't open, but counters are old in Formica. Yeah, they've been old in Formica since you walked the property.
Exactly. Now, Alejandra's asking, do you credit the buyer or do you change the price of the house? Credit the buyer.
But she's talking about the cast iron plumbing.
No, that is in the part of when it comes out into an inspection, she wrote cast iron plumbing. And now, you know, her second question on that was, do you credit or do you change the price? Always credit. Always credit. Don't change the property, you know, don't change the price. You know, once you already have a price set, anything else after you have that executed contract is go ahead and credit. How are
Protect
you?
the market.
Okay. How are you?
Protect the market, right?
Yes. Now we're coming up on time. It's 10:47. I did want to open it up for questions from everybody, but before I do, I'm going to do that in a few minutes. I will say, at what point do you guys like each other? They
Well,
still
obviously
like each
after
other.
inspection, it's obviously after inspection, after appraisal, but before that,
after inspections, then you have appraisals, and then he's gonna give you, because you know buyer's agent will always need an extension. So then you have that extension coming in. Now you really don't like him. And now it's not like, especially in this market where the lenders are taking so long, underwriting is so backed up. The listing agents apparently have never worked with a buyer because they're all getting upset over how overwhelmed the lenders are. So now we're getting into a situation where it's like they're extending for 1 week, 2 weeks, and then after they do that extension, they get another extension on top of that. And then the listing agent's like, you know what, I'm gonna pull out, I'm pissed, my seller. And you guys don't talk to each other and explain, like, the buyer's agent is always afraid to tell the listing agent that it's because of financing. They're so afraid to say that it's because of financing. But we all know that 99% of the problems that occur through a transaction, the issue is financing.
Yep.
They all blame title companies.
Finance offers.
It's not the title company's problem. 99% of the issues arise because of lenders.
But here's the thing, and this is why I say, I think, my personal opinion, communication is key.
Yeah.
If you know what I went through about a week ago with the last deal, that I had to do about 3 extensions because the bank was backed up because of the first thing I did was I wrote an email to the listing agent, copied the bank on it, and he was very thankful. And he wrote an email the other day saying that the communication between title, lender, and ourselves was awesome. And I told you this, Andreina. That listing agent did something. He's old school. He did something that not a lot of listing agents do. As soon as we went under contract, and I copy paste that. I don't know how to say it. Leo, he wrote down every date of the transaction, inspection period, escrow, money in escrow.
I just got that from an agent too.
You know
Amazing.
what? Like, so
why are we not doing this? This should be like kindergarten. You know, you grab that contract, you write down the dates. You guys know the dates because you're telling your clients about it. So isn't it a light bulb that just went off on everybody's brain? You know, like grab this one thing, copy paste it, write the new dates there, send it to your client, send it to the other agent, keep everybody in the loop, and everybody's happy.
And we as buyer's agent, I think we really have to do that because you know how clients can be. And then it's your fault.
Are more on
Yes,
you.
it is your fault.
So and there's like an escrow deposit that's in the balance here. You could literally make somebody lose anywhere between $5,000 to $10,000. So if we do that, or even if the listing agent does that, everybody gets copied. You cannot tell me, oh no, I did not know.
We go back to communication is key. And with
And
that,
look what Patty's saying. That she took that it's true. That used to be something that we expect title company to do. And Patty just said she decided to take it over and forget, don't wait for the title company to do it. It's best if we do it.
And before we do go into questions, because I really, really do want to open up to questions, but I know that Leo is pressed on time, right?
Right.
I start every single one of my masterminds when I first meet people with, you are your own business. You guys are business owners. Stop expecting somebody else to do the work for you. So let's stop blaming the title company. Let's stop blaming the lender. Let's stop blaming the listing agent or the buyer's agent. You guys are your own company. So the way that you guys move forward with a transaction, I want you guys to all look at each other as a team. Listing agent, buyer's agent, title, lending. You guys are a team. And you guys are a team until this transaction closes, right? Let's treat each other as such. Let's be respectful. Let's communicate well from beginning to end. And stop expecting things from the other side. And let's just start handling it ourselves. And the other side will follow through due to the way that you're handling your own business. I think that you can make, you're as strong as your weakest member, right? Don't be the weak one. Be ahead of the game in front of everybody. Okay, so I am.
And career advice. One more thing, career advice. I would advise everybody to make sure that at one point or another, try to be both. Experience being on both sides of the deal.
Yes.
Don't just focus on buyers and don't just focus on sellers, even if that's what you like or you think you're good at. Please make sure that during your first years, you experience both positions because they're very, very different. But at the end of the time, they're both needed and both part of the transaction.
And put
so
yourself in the other person's shoes.
Yes, that's the only way.
Now, guys, I have opened up the microphones to be opened to you guys one at a time. Does anybody have a question for these gentlemen? And when you do have a question, if you're going to unmute yourselves, right, I want you to state who the question is for and ask your question. And at the end of the question, I want you to say whose side you're on. Anybody have question? Hi, Elsie.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Who do you have a question for?
So my question is for Guillermo.
Okay.
When you're working with your buyers in this market now, how much more do you offer on a listing?
On a single family home?
On a single family.
You at least got to offer 5,000 above.
It's funny because I thought that that's what agents were doing, but I like everybody's coming in a full asking price with appraisal contingencies, and that's why the offers are not being taken.
What is it, Andre? I'm sorry.
And I feel like most should be offering like 5 above, but what I've been seeing is that everybody's offering asking price with appraisal contingency, and that's why the offers are not being accepted.
As a listing agent, I always tell my clients, do not fall for the high-priced offers with appraisal contingency. That's just a trick to get ahead of the other guy behind you and say, oh, my offer is higher. But if it's appraisal contingency, then it's basically whatever the bank says. So it's not a good offer.
Yeah. Any other questions? Oh, wait. Elsie, whose side are you on here?
I'm kind of on both because I have listings and buyers. So I understand both sides.
Yep.
Beautiful. Anybody else have a question? You guys are able to unmute yourselves and talk to us.
I will say this, Andre, before anybody asks a question. I think when you ask at what point do you like each other, I know it's after inspection and all that, but I think it should be once the offer gets accepted. You know, listing agent should be happy that, you know, there was an offer submitted.
Yes.
The buyer's agent should be happy that this guy went for my offer.
How happy are you usually with the listing agent after your offer gets gets accepted?
I am happy. The thing is, like you said, then we run into issues, and then it might get sour a little bit. But
Yeah.
But
And
again,
I've been happy before. I've been happy with agents even before.
yeah.
Like, because somebody said on the chat, say, well, not all agents are bad. I've had the opportunity to work with agents that I'll remember them, and we didn't even get a deal because of the approach from day one, the way they talk about it, the way you can feel they're in it with you and not against you. And if you manage to communicate that to a seller's agent, trust me, you're on the good side of that seller's agent, and I'm gonna give you the extra day to bring your offer in. I'm gonna, maybe hint you some information of, what needs to happen for you to get it. So I think that the rapport between the buyer's agent towards the listing agent is critical, and obviously same backwards. But if the buyer lets the seller agent from day one shows empathy and listen, let's get this done. I know you got a good property. That goes a long way, because I've waited. I've held for 5, 7, 10 hours, and even 24 hours, a response to an offer just because somebody else was, nice and proper and correct and sounded informed and said, give me 12 hours and I'll get you another offer, even without knowing what the offer I have is holding as. I'll give it to them because they earned that trust. They earned that. So I think it's very important to be nice from day one.
I will say this because, I'm on the other side. I'm in the office, right? And I get agents all the time like, man, I submitted my offer and they didn't even, they didn't even call me to let me know if they even received it, right? But if you guys know me, I'm also very black and white, right? And I'm like, well, they don't have to call you. Like, don't get upset because they don't have, they're not, they don't have to call you. They will call you if they're a good agent and like communication. But at the end of the day, if it's past the amount of days that you guys have on that, when to answer by, let it go. They didn't accept it.
But Guillermo, would you ever send an offer without calling?
What is it?
Would you ever send an offer to an agent and not call him and said, I just sent you the best offer you've ever seen. Let's work together and get this done.
I usually do call when I send an
offer.
offer.
Well, Guillermo's a caller because he doesn't read, remember? He doesn't.
I expect that call from any offers. I've had clients, realtors say, oh, I sent you an offer 2 days ago. And it's like, maybe I'm busy too. So how about a call and telling me, it's in there. Maybe it went to junk mail. Everything's possible. Don't assume it's going to pop up in my face just because it's your offer.
Exactly. Now, Alejandra wrote, in my opinion, you should treat the transaction as a business or on a professional matter. Good ethics with professional prestige. Don't take it personal, and hopefully you will close the deal again. So build bridges.
Awesome point.
Yes.
Thank you,
I am a huge believer that you need to network with agents and you need to guys make friends. We're all in the same industry. Yep. We should all like each other. I have created, WhatsApp chat groups, to bring our industry together. And I think that has been the biggest issue, is that we're so against each other, but we need to connect and help each other and make sure we all grow. Talk to me, Guillermo.
Yeah, I was going to say that, like I said before, we have a common goal. The thing is that the buyer agent has to get in the listing agent's shoes. And, we got to remember that, okay, he's trying to sell that property. So he's looking out for the best interest of his client. And me on the buyer side, I got to look for the best interest of my client. But that doesn't mean it has to be a war. It's just, have the patience, know that he's looking out for his client. You got to look out for your client. And I think that's where sometimes it gets lost, because it becomes personal. And just like I think Alejandra had put, it's nothing personal. It's business.
It's business.
You cannot get emotionally involved. And I have
asked a question where she wrote, is there a rule about which part chooses the title company? I want to remind everybody that the seller can choose their own closing agent, even though the buyer's using another one. You're not tied up to use the closing agent the buyer chooses. Now, who chooses who's going to hold the escrow? I will say, if you're representing the buyer, you want to have control where that money's at.
Hey, Leo, I got something for you.
Uh-oh.
Please, 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 if you're representing the buyer, keep it with your title company, but your seller is able to not to hold money, sorry, because they're not holding money, but your seller is able to choose who their closing agent is.
But like I said in the chat, that's also something used to negotiate, because then you can, say, listen, I'll use yours, but you pay the title insurance.
Yes.
I have a question for Leo.
Yeah.
Leo, as a listing agent, how do you handle when the buyer calls you directly and asks you in the middle of the transaction, what should he do because he's using 2 lenders for the loan?
If it's, first of all, I would, take the call, ask him, did he get the number from his agent, and probably try to get him to do a 3-way call. And if it's about mortgage, I would immediately dismiss it as, well, as a realtor, especially as the representative of the seller, I cannot get involved with
liability all the way here. This is an entire liability. First of all, if Leo sits there and entertains the buyer, he is doing unethical behavior, because any communication has to go through the buyer's agent.
Yep.
And now going to Leo to speak about mortgages when Leo is not a lender, and has no idea begin with, he just can't speak to this buyer to begin with. So right away should be, hey, speak.
Remember what happened to me.
And now you want to know what's funny? Leo's gonna be alerted. He's gonna be worried. This transaction is not gonna go through. Why has Guillermo not communicated that their client is a disaster and we might not be closing? Is there going to be an extension? Are we going to have to start from the very beginning, because now there's 2 lenders working this deal?
But Guillermo had the trust of his client.
Yes.
Why is his client going over Guillermo? That worries me immediately.
100%.
Can I ask you something, Leo? And I've seen this a lot, and I'm sure others can relate. No, I just want to ask maybe the reason behind it. I've seen a lot of times in brokers' remarks.
Okay.
When there is broker remarks.
I do, and you see, I do read them sometimes.
There you go. Damn, Guillermo, you improved. New coach.
Seller, chooses title company. If not, there's no deal. Why? Yeah. Why? I mean, but why do that? I mean, that to me as a buyer's agent, that's already giving me a bad feeling.
As a listing agent, I would try definitely to avoid that, but sometimes sellers are don't trust the system and don't trust institutions, and they're gonna say, listen, my sister, my best friend, I've always closed with these people and I want to close with them. But like Andre just said, at the end of the day, I need to tell my seller, that's fine, we're going to use your title company, but we have to allow, for starters, I wouldn't put that on my listing, because like Andre said, my guy can be very comfortable working with his, and I don't need to limit the buyer. The buyer can bring his, and then they get their lawyers involved, and we close in one office, which is probably going to be my guy, but I'm not forcing the buyer to use my title company.
I want to be, I mean, we're right on time. So I'm going to I need to tie this up, right? I do want to say that the way Guillermo might read it might not be in the tone of voice that Leo wrote it. Leo might have sat there and wrote like, hey, we're going to be using this title company. And in his mind is, I have the seller right behind me, making sure that I write this. And Guillermo's like, he's probably getting a piece. Why are we going to use that title company? Why is he doing the work for me?
Good impression, Andre. It kind of came out. I appreciate that.
Got stripped.
But it's, and I see this all the time. We're not really putting ourselves in each other's shoes. So I am going to tie this up. We're right on time. I know Leo has to go. So I will say this. I know that we call the listing agent versus buyer's agent, because I really do feel that this is how this industry is treating each other. And instead of being versus, I want to leave you guys with the message of, we are all friends. We're all friends. We all have a common goal. Let's treat each other as a team. We're putting a business transaction together. We all want it to close. Learn how to control your clients. Communicate with them firmly. Do not be emotional during the transaction, because your emotions they transfer over to your clients, they transfer over to the other side, and everyone loses that way. So take your emotions out of the transaction, control every side, be very friendly, cordial, and professional with the listing agent, buyer's agent, the lenders, the title companies. And I promise you that no matter what, the end goal will come out the way you want it. If it's treated as a team more so than versus. No one is against the other.
I have one disclosure just in case Claudia gets to see, the recording of this. By being nice and having a good
It's
relationship.
on Facebook Live, so she might be watching.
Hey, Claudia. One of the things that we treat the other client, the other realtor, kindly and show him professionalism, like some of you guys already put in the chat, because they may be the next broker's realtor. They may end up coming to our company because they see the support we get from Andre and how involved we are and how professional we are. So we may end up having somebody after a transaction have that realtor come over to brokers and hang their license with us. So
100%. And you never know if that person is looking for a team and you guys would actually work so well together. You just never know. You just never know. So with that said, thank you so much, guys. I am honestly honored every time I can put a seminar together, and I am blessed when the seminar one goes absolutely so well, when both the speakers are so well spoken. We all get along. I feel like our energy flowed very well throughout. Again, Guillermo, you're doing amazing this year. You're closing at least 2 to 3 transactions every single month. If anybody has questions regarding dealing with buyers, please hit up Guillermo. Leo, you have amount of years of experience. You have a couple of listings right now actively on the system. If anybody needs questions regarding listings, please contact Leo directly. We are all a team. We're all in the same industry, whether you're a part of Brokers LLC or not. We are a family, no matter where you're at. And, my guys are available to you guys at any time as well.
Leo, I'll be sure to keep reading.
I'll make sure to complete the information and think of you when I fill out my listings.
Yes. Leo's now going to fill out the white and he's going to pick up his phone.
Yes, every time. I'm going to shower with my phone on.
All right, guys. Have an amazing trip.
Bye. Thank you very much.
Traveling up north today.
Thanks for the questions.
Thank you, guys.
Stay safe.
Amazing.
Bye-bye. Stay safe.
Have a good one, guys.
Bye.